with some people starting to already see the impacts of the American Rescue Act in the form of $1,400 hitting their bank accounts over the weekend. That is, of course, unless you have some debts and your debt collectors have jumped on it already. That's a separate story. But nonetheless, if you have received your $1,400, great. Just know that Republicans are rushing to take credit for a bill they had absolutely nothing to do with. Yeah. Good stuff. Good stuff. Now, let me give some examples here. So this actually happened. This is a part of the story is actually last week. Okay. So last week, Senator Roger Wicker of Mississippi's Republican tweeted that independent restaurant operators were going to get billions of dollars in rescue funds from this stimulus proposal. Okay. So now here's what he tweeted. Independent restaurant operators have won $28.6 billion worth of targeted relief. Good. This funding will ensure small businesses can survive the pandemic by helping to adapt their operations and keep their employees in the payroll. So that's good. Hey, money for small business. I'm not going to argue with that. I am a small business. And so I get it. Money for small business, good. Money for people, good. Well, why would you be against this? Well, the Republicans, they're against all things that are actually good and for things that are actually bad. And so now the House passed that relief legislation on Wednesday. This is the time of the tweet. This was a 220 to 211 vote. One Democrat, Maine's Representative Jared Golden, voted with the Republicans, every single Republican voting no. In the Senate, as you recall, that all Republicans also voted no. And this was not only on Wednesday, but also when the final vote came up. And so, all right. Hey, very interesting, right? So all the Republicans not in favor of this. All right. Interesting. Now, when reporters on the Hill asked Wicker about his tweet and the fact that he also voted against the bill on Wednesday, he said, that is a, quote, stupid question. No, it's not. You voted against a bill that you just touted. Why is that a stupid question? Why is that a stupid question? But here's what he said. One good provision in a $1.9 trillion bill doesn't mean I have to vote for the whole thing. Oh, okay. Well, sure. I get that. Okay. All right. Fair enough. But actually, in reality, there's a lot of good provisions to this proposal. But apparently he only found the one good. So understand that Roger Wicker is saying that the $1,400 checks that are going out to you and your family sometime later this week or have even hit your accounts already, that's not a good thing to Roger Wicker. That's not a good thing to Republicans. They see that as bad, like, poor people getting money. Oh, hate it. Oh, no, not interested at all. Get it away from me. Get it away from me. The only thing that I like is small business relief. Now, look, as I mentioned before, I like it when small businesses get some assistance, right? We're not in favor, or we're not against that. We're in favor of that, right? Now, what we're not in favor of is big corporations coming in and using tricky whatever subsidiary bullshit to go and actually get small business loans. And we also don't like it when people will come in, who railed against this legislation, against the bill, against the Democrats, and then will come in and take small business loans, as some on the right wing have done. Some independent YouTubers. I think even Tim Pool is one of those people. And so, those people will come in. They'll be, oh my God, everything the Democrats do is terrible. This bill is awful. By the way, let me get some of that small business relief. These paycheck protection loans. Yeah. Let's get that. Oh yeah, loving it. Let me get that money. It's free money from the government. I'm gonna take it. But anyway, back to Wicker here. He says, I was for that bill. Introduced that bill long before this legislation. So he pushed another thing that was so-called small business relief. An aide to Wicker also added this, quote, he was not able to support $2 trillion in poorly targeted spending As was proposed by congressional Democrats, we will continue working to advance targeted relief for restaurants and other groups that have been hit hard by the pandemic. Understand that this coronavirus stimulus bill it's actually more targeted than any of the other COVID relief bills. It actually got up to less people, which I don't know how the Democrats thought that was a good idea. Because even doing that, you still have Republicans that are like, not targeted enough. Needs more targeting. All right. So now here's the thing. Roger Wicker voted against the relief at all. So if we're up to Roger Wicker, these companies, these small businesses, wouldn't have gotten anything. So that's the alternative right there. Because Republicans, again, voted en masse against everything, the entire proposal. What kind of tricky crap is this? But you know what? There's more. At least 4 different Republican congresspeople actually tried to convince their constituents that they played a role in the $1.9 trillion stimulus package. And for example, on Friday, Representative Maria Elvira Salazar took to Twitter and said this: "So proud to announce the Biden administration has just implemented my bipartisan COVID relief bill as part of SBA Gov policy." So, yeah, again, she voted against it, but since they took a provision that she was in favor of for small business administration loans, she's like, so glad. I'm so glad that Joe Biden and the Democrats included this provision into a bill that I ultimately shot down. And then, of course, you had Lauren Boebert. Lauren Boebert. Oh, yes. Here's what she said. So she took a little bit of a different tack, especially when it came to the stimulus checks, because, look, the stimulus checks are incredibly popular. That's not only just among Democrats, but Republicans. Turns out Republicans also like getting free money. Who would have known? And this, of course, money is absolutely necessary for people to be able to survive, pay rent, food, etc. Right? But here's Lauren Boebert trying to put a nice conservative spin on this, right? So she says, "This is not $1,400 given to you by your generous government," of which, of course, she is a part of. Just saying. "This is money that you and your fellow countrymen already paid into the system." All right. Actually, no. Look, what she's expressing is what a lot of people think that they understand about the economy, what they understand about federal spending, right? A lot of what we've learned when it comes to federal spending is actually wrong. And so let me give you some examples, right? So what this is in the coronavirus stimulus is basically just money that the government, told the Federal Reserve to print up out of thin air and then decided to send a portion of it to the American people. And that's it. Again, I know a lot of people don't realize this, and also don't realize that money is technically not real. It is a medium of exchange. That's really all it is. It basically is a stand-in and a replacement for the barter system. And what money does is that it actually represents real resources, but it is a universal medium of exchange. Okay. And so let me give you an example here. Okay. So now think of it this way. So back in the olden days, this is kind of how the barter system worked. You had 2 goats, right? Or I'm sorry, you didn't have 2 goats. You really wished that you had some goats, right? Maybe you want to make goat cheese. I don't know. Okay. Maybe you want to make goat cheese, but all you have is chickens. You can't make goat cheese from chickens, can you? So no, in a barter system, you would have to find someone who has 2 goats that they want to trade. So, but all you got's the chickens. So you need to find somebody who has the goats that he's willing to sell in exchange for 5 chickens or however many chickens. All right. Now, but what if he wants cows in exchange? Well, you're screwed because you don't have cows. So in that system, you'd have to go and find somebody with cows that will take chickens as payment. Or something else, assuming that you can find something else you want to trade, and say you get the cows and then you're finally able to trade them and you get the goats and you can make your goat cheese. Okay. You know what that sounds like? A pain in the dick. And that's it. So some people thought, hey, you know what? That system sucks. What we're going to do is we're going to invent money, a medium of exchange that is universally accepted. And we're going to get everybody to use this to make commerce simple. That's it. And in order to, of course, ensure that everybody accepts this medium of exchange, we are going to make it backed by the government. So now the government is saying, no, you will accept this currency that we have created. And that's it. Like, you're going to use it because we have adopted it. And that's it. All right. So that is why, again, we have this universal currency where now instead of, having to do all that trading, you can buy the goats for cash. Maybe you got to sell the chickens for cash first. Somebody will buy it, whatever, right? You got to have, still got to have somebody who wants it or go to a market stall or whatever. But, it's a lot easier than what it is before. All right. And so you have this currency that's backed by the government in order to make it universally accepted. And again, it makes commerce so much easier. And so, all right. Now, the point is, Lauren Boebert and a lot of conservatives and just generally a lot of people don't quite understand how it works. All right. Now, the government did technically kind of create the money. Right. I mean, yes, they called up the Federal Reserve and literally had the Federal Reserve say or print up this money or add it to their credit accounts or whatever. Right. Point is, the government said we need $1.9 trillion. They said, OK, we're going to give you that. And then they dispersed it to the people. OK, and it's still a simplistic explanation of kind of how things work. It is, again, complicated. You have a lot of, different factors. You have inflation, you have interest rates, exchange of international currency, money by fiat. Turns out the economics is not very simple. OK, but nonetheless, there is a reason conservatives lie about how it works. For one, it does take a lot of explanation. But secondly, there's a political factor to it, and that political factor is they don't want money to go to you. They don't want resources to go to you. And that's essentially it. Since money is a stand-in for those resources, they don't want national shared resources going to the American people. Instead, they want the resources to go to the rich who already have all the resources. They don't need them. And again, these dollars equal food, medicine, shelter, water, transportation, things that people need to live and not just live, but to thrive as well. And the Republican Party understand that they like to deny you these things because they believe you to be undeserving of it unless you're willing to, of course, sell your body in the form of labor for someone else to profit from. And that's, of course, essentially what capitalism is. All right. And again, that's how it works. Now, Boebert says, no, that's not government money. It's your money. Well, again, yes, and no. OK, so now the reason that there is taxation to begin with is that, again, the you got to take the money out of circulation so that money is scarce in a system like this. All right. And when money is more scarce, just like resources, it increases in value. The more money there is, and we've seen this with countries with hyperinflation where there's so much money, there's too much currency and it's not worth anything because there's so much. Well, then you have, again, a situation where you have no buying power, even with lots and lots and lots of money. And so that's a problem. That's what you can avoid. And here's the thing. Here's the reason why is that even though money itself is infinite, it's created out of thin air, the resources that it represents are not. They are not infinite. And so, for example, there's only so much gold. There's almost so much silver, capital, labor, land, food, whatever. You kind of get the grift or the drift, I should say. Super simplistic, right? But basically, Lauren Boebert and the rest of the Republican Party don't think that you're deserving of these resources. They just don't. And they also don't want you to think that government can work. Now, the stimulus is an example of the government actually doing something positive for the American people. And there are a lot of problems with the stimulus bill, obviously, and there's been a lot of problems with a lot of the stimulus bills. Still, it's better because it actually does show that government can be somewhat effective, even when, basically one of the chambers of government doesn't really want to do anything. All right. So, again, super simplistic. Now, the Republicans also, as I mentioned before, want to hoard resources to their rich friends. Turns out that's not a popular position. And so, as a result, they lie, they gaslight, they do all this stuff to sabotage government programs to make sure government doesn't actually work. They divide the populace among racial, ethnic, and economic lines and get them to fight so that we don't have a more fair and equitable distribution of those resources. And that's what the stimulus is. It is a redistribution of certain resources. And again, Republicans are not in favor of doing that. And it is sort of ironic that these same Republicans who say they're against redistribution are in favor of redistribution. They love redistribution, generally if it goes to the rich, but also if this redistribution happens to be popular among their own base, they're going to try to claim credit for it, even when they didn't actually do anything about it. So, again, polls found that a majority of the public, both Republicans and Democrats, generally support this. So the only thing that I can come up with is the idea that the Republican Party is just lying to you. And they want to get credit for things that they didn't do because they think that you're stupid enough to fall for it. If you enjoyed this video, please give us a like and share with your friends. You can subscribe and help out the channel by becoming a patron. It's patreon.com/Jeff Waldorf, or you can become a channel member as well by hitting the join button below.